Hello. Since it's so beautiful today, I thought I would try reading outside, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so we're picking up on chapter 15 of our story, and we've just learned a little bit more about Connor as a character and what he's like and some of his background with his parents, and we'll find out what happens next. "Hey," I said, walking up to Connor a couple of days later at his locker. He turned around to face me. "Hey, how's Spaghetti?" "Better," I said. I had spent as much time with Spaghetti as I could trying to motivate him to get well and eat his hay, offering him all of the hay I could with my feet. I also made sure that he ate his llama ration, and my efforts seemed to be making a difference. "That's good," Connor said. "Do you know why he's named Spaghetti? It seems like a weird name for a llama." "Denise told me that he's named after spaghetti westerns." "Oh," Connor said. "What are those?" I shrugged. "No idea. Maybe movies full of cowboys eating lots of spaghetti?" Connor said, "Weird." Okay, I'm going to stop and just tell you something. The term spaghetti westerns, they are like the old black and white short western movies that were popular like in the 50s maybe. And they're called spaghetti westerns because they were filmed in Italy for some reason, and Italian food and spaghetti, so they just call them spaghetti westerns. So, a little bit of trivia for you. I saw Zion walking down the sidewalk toward us. "Hey, Zion," I called to him. He was concentrating hard on watching his feet so he didn't hear me. "Zion," I called again. He looked up, seemingly surprised again that someone was talking to him. I can't exactly wave to get somebody's attention, so I jumped up and down a little bit. "Zion," I said as I bounced, and he finally saw me. He stopped in front of me and Connor and said, "Hi, Avon," very softly. "This is Connor," I told him, and the two boys gave each other a little mini wave. "You're in my history class," Zion told Connor. I've heard you're in there." Connor barked and shrugged his shoulders. "Yeah, you and everyone else." "Connor has Tourette's syndrome," I explained to Zion. "He can't help it." "Oh, I didn't think he could." Zion looked down at his sneakers and then back up at Connor and just said, "I'm sorry." Connor shrugged and said, "It's okay." "Anyway," I said, "I was just about to ask Connor if he wanted to come over after school and do some investigating." I eyed Zion seriously. "I live at a theme park called Stagecoach Pass." "Yeah, I know the place," said Zion. "Okay, good," I said. "We're trying to figure out why no one ever sees the owner. We think he might have been—" I looked around and whispered, "murdered." Zion took a step back and said, "That sounds scary." Connor barked, "Trust me, there's nothing scary about that place." "Don't I know about that," I said. "This morning when I left the apartment, I found a dead lizard right at the bottom of the stairs." I sighed. "Yep, I think it was a clue. Someone was trying to send me a message." "Really? What kind of message?" asked Zion. "Stop butting your nose in where it doesn't belong, obviously, or I'll send you some dead lizards." Connor shook his head. "I don't know. Stuff dies in the desert all the time. That's kind of what the desert does. Kills things." "Well, you guys should come over. I'll show you the dead lizard and we can search the storage shed some more." Connor slammed his locker shut. "I can't. My mom needs me to wait at home for the maintenance guy. For some reason our hot water won't work." "Huh, that stinks," I said. "No, I can't either," said Zion, "and I'm not sure I want to get involved with murderers and dead lizards and stuff. I don't think my parents would like it." "Oh," I rolled my eyes and tapped my foot. "It's only one murder and one dead lizard. How about tomorrow? It's Saturday." "Yeah," Connor said. "I can come over early." We both looked at Zion. "Okay," he said, "but if anyone sends you any more dead animals, I'm not coming." "Great," I said. "I can't wait for tomorrow." As Connor, Zion, and I walked together down the sidewalk, I heard someone do that coughing thing where they sneak a word into the cough, but they're not actually being very sneaky about it at all. And the word was freaks. And now she's going to write another blog post. So this is the blog that she writes on the internet. "Next morning, I wrote a blog post. And here's what it said. I'm sure most people who see me feel sorry for me at first. I think their first thought is probably something about how terrible it must be not to have arms. Maybe they imagine me helplessly being carried around by my mom everywhere in a giant baby backpack and my poor parents having to brush my teeth and feed me through a tube and whatever. What a lot of people don't realize, though, is there are a lot of fantastic things about not having an arm. Seriously, I could think of 20 right now. 1. No fist fighting. And this is a real positive for other people because I would totally win in a fist fight. No, it would be a total smackdown. 2. No rough elbows. My mom has eczema, so I know what a curse rough elbows can be. 3. I don't have to clean my fingernails. You can add filing, polishing, and trimming to that as well. 4. No leaving fingerprints behind the crime of a scene. That would be very helpful if I ever robbed a bank. 5. No getting caught picking my nose. My shoes are usually in the way. 6. No arm wrestling. 7. No golf. Well, I suppose I could figure out a way to play golf, but I'm not gonna, because it's too boring. 8. No cheesy high fives. 9. No making that silly okay shape with my fingers. 10. Fewer areas to put on sunscreen and fewer areas to sunburn. And this is a good thing for me because with my red hair I have fair skin. Number 11. I don't have to worry about accidentally using my hands in soccer. That gives me an advantage. Number 12. No fighting over the armrest at movies. Really, no fighting over the armrest anywhere. 13. No armpits. How can there be armpits when there are no arms? They're more like flats. 14. I'll get the royal treatment when I start driving in a few years. That's right, this princess parking for this girl everywhere I go. And yes, I will be driving an actual car, so watch out, roads. 15. Less money to spend on jewelry, rings, bracelets, and watches. 16. No flabby flapjack arms when I get old. My great-grandmother has those. I hope she's not reading this. 17. No push-ups. 18. I never get that floppy, numb arm thing at night from sleeping on my arms. My dad gets that a lot. Number 19. No one's ever challenged me to a thumb war, which is good, because I don't like war. 20. Pranks at work. One day I'll pull a fantastic prank, like pretending my arms get torn off in an elevator door or something, and I look forward to that. I stared at the screen. Who exactly was I trying to convince? The person who'd called me a freak yesterday, or myself? I hit publish, and I browsed through some of my previous posts. I noticed that Emily had commented on a lot of them, mostly short remarks like LOL or miss you girl. Someone else had commented that I was in her art class at school, though they didn't say who they were. A couple of other people wrote that I made them laugh, and that was nice. I was responding to one of Emily's comments when I heard a knock at the door. I let Connor in, and we played video games while we waited for Zion to show up. When we heard another knock, I jumped up and opened the door, and Zion stood there looking all shy, as usual, with his mom. She had the biggest smile I had ever seen. I just wanted to meet these new friends of Zion's, she said. She looked like she might explode from happiness. I guessed from her expression she didn't meet a lot of his friends. I remembered what Zion had said about his parents being huge geeks as I took in her Wolverine tank top and purple skirt. I thought she looked pretty cool. Hi. I resisted the urge to stare at my own feet like Zion. I'm Avon. I turned and looked to Connor. That's Connor. Connor barked as he continued to play, totally ignoring us, caught in the game. I'm Zion's mom, she said. She wore a sparkly purple headband in her curly black hair. I wanted one of those sparkly purple headbands too, and the matching skirt. She looked at me with eyes that were the same exact deep brown as Zion's. What game were you guys playing? Just Mario Kart, I said. She glanced from Connor to me and back again, as if for one terrifying moment I thought she was going to ask if she could play with us. Instead, she looked down at Zion. We'll have fun playing with your new friends, sweetie pie, and she kissed him on top of the head. Zion groaned a little bit and said, You can go now, Mom. But he didn't say it in a mean way. She turned that beaming smile back to me. I'll be back in a few hours if that's okay. All right, I said. And when I shut the door, Zion sighed and said, I thought she'd never leave, even though she'd only been there for about 1 minute. Hey, where'd your mom get her headband? I asked. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, I don't know. We played a couple more races, and then I led the two guys to the storage shed. Connor rummaged through the junk while Zion and I tried to read some old documents we found stacked in a giant heap in one corner. Periodically, Connor would hold up something for us, like an old boot or handkerchief, and say, "Check this out," like whatever he was holding was interesting, when in fact it really wasn't. Connor also found an entire box of books about tarantulas. "Cool," I said, dipping my toes into the box and sifting through books. "Maybe you guys can carry this up to the apartment for me." While I browsed through one of those tarantula books, because tarantulas were everywhere, Zion continued moving the stacks of documents and boxes until he uncovered a large wooden desk buried beneath all that stuff. Connor and I examined the desk with him. It had rows of drawers going down one side, but they were locked. "Where do you think the key is?" Zion asked me. I shrugged. "The desk is probably like 50 years old. It could be anywhere. You know how to pry it open?" Zion shook his head. "It's so dusty in here, and my mom's going to be back soon," he coughed. "Yeah, I guess we'll have to give it up for today." "Wait, look," Connor said, and he reached under the desk and he pulled out an old guitar. It was pretty beat up from the neglect, and some of the strings were missing, and on the back of it, in very small letters, someone had carved the initials A.B.C. "What do you think they stand for? The alphabet?" "No. Something Kavanaugh." "So, I know you don't go to therapy anymore and all, but my mom and I were browsing online and we found out there's this, social event for kids with Tourette's over at the hospital," I said when I was walking next to Connor on our way to class the following week. Connor stopped and turned to face me. "You mean a support group?" "Yeah, sort of," I said. "I don't need a support group. I'm totally fine. I just thought it'd be cool to meet some other kids who have the same thing as you know, maybe even make some new friends." Actually, it had mostly been my mom's idea, but she thought it'd be best if I'd brought it up to Connor. Connor raised an eyebrow and said, "I don't know." "Well, it would be just as much for me as you. It turns out I like kids who have Tourette's, and I don't have all that many friends, so I'd like to go and see about making some new friends in a place where I'm not the only kid who's sort of different." Connor continued to give me a skeptical look and said, "Really?" "Well, I sort of looked up support groups for kids with no arms, and guess what? There are none. At least not that I could find, so I guess Tourette's syndrome is a lot more common." 1%, Connor said as he turned and continued walking toward the class. "What?" 1%. 1% of all the people have Tourette's. "See? I bet there are a lot of kids with Tourette's to go to at the support group, not social group." "Whatever. It might be fine. Please, will you go with me, please?" I begged. "Are you saying that you'd go without me?" he asked. "Well, why not? You don't have Tourette's." "Well, I could just meow from time to time. No one would know." Connor gave me a playful shove and said, Fine, I'll go with you." And he rolled his eyes. "And please, don't meow." Mom walked us into the hospital just after 7:30, and the reception directed us to the corridor and into a small meeting room. Mom promised to pick us up in front of the hospital at 9 o'clock sharp and left us there to brave the meeting all by ourselves. As we entered the room, we were immediately greeted by a boy shouting, "Chicken, chicken!" I looked at it surprised, and he shouted it again, aiming it to no one in particular. I glanced at the other kids in the room, 5 boys and 1 girl. "What's with all the boys?" I whispered in Connor's ear. "Well, for some reason, Tourette's syndrome is much more common for boys." Connor barked as we stood there surveying the room. The other kids didn't seem at all fazed by his barking, but they watched me with curiosity. But that was okay. A pretty woman walked into the room and introduced herself. "I'm Andrea," she said, shaking Connor's hand. "Are you Connor?" Connor nodded, barked, shrugged, blinked. He was nervous, I could tell. "And you're Avon, Connor's friend," Andrea said. "Nice to meet you. Why don't you find a place to sit and we'll get started?" And I could see Andrea also had Tourette's by the way she made a funny counting motion with her fingers. But other than that, she seemed to keep it under control. I wondered if maybe she had a milder form of Tourette's, or if she had learned how to control it, or anything that might be helpful for Connor. Chicken Boy moved over a seat so Connor could sit next to each other, and he yelled out, "Chicken!" as I sat down next to him, and then he leaned over and whispered, "Do you have Tourette's?" I shook my head and said, "No." "Oh, chicken! I do, in case you chicken didn't notice." I grinned at him and I said, "Well, I wasn't sure." "I'm Dexter," he said. "Chicken!" "I'm Avon." "Well," Andrea said, sitting down in the circle, "I guess we can get started. Everyone, we have a couple of new friends with us tonight, so why don't you introduce yourselves?" Connor was ticking badly, so I spoke. "I'm Avon." "And Avon does not have Tourette's syndrome," Andrea said. "Yeah," I laughed. Could you imagine what a doozy that would be? And I'm going to stop us there.